Did you know that building an enchanting room actually increases your chance of getting good enchantments? My source? I made it up. But regardless, you can see here, it's faster and more efficient to enchant items. So, without further ado, let's investigate how we'd go about this. To begin, clear out any dangerous monsters inside of your area. So, once you do that, now you have yourself a little bit more useful of an area. You need to have enough room for your enchanting table, and you can optionally add glass later. I do not. But still, this is going to be underground, and I'm going to be assuming you are underground, even if you aren't. So make sure you have enough room. There is a chance you might breach the surface, but don't worry. I do have a contingency for that because I understand my enchanting room might be larger than most. So here's how we do it. Start by excavating your area. Mildly enchanted diamond is my preferred choice. You can always grindstone the efficiency off later. But now we have a decently sized room, and then we place down the table, and we have some bookshelves. So that's it. Enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out. On the off chance you actually do want a more efficient and beautiful room besides just a stone blob, then there are a few things we can add. So raise the roof, and you can see just like that, we have an issue actually. So we have breached the outside, and that is really not good. So the answer to this, building a whole facade exterior. This is pretty simple, but pretty much if you accidentally breach the outside, then you can build part of your entrance and make it a non-accessible room. You can see it's just a window with some black concrete behind it. Anyways, we go back in here, and now we have more room to work with. Beautifies both the exterior and gives us more room to work with in the interior. To start, change the floor to either wool or birch planks, or any other plank if it fits your vibe. You can see in here, that works really well. And our room is quite tall now. Additionally, your walls should be lined with dark oak or another block that works as the bottom layer, typically darker. And the exact measurements do not matter. You can choose whatever, but I recommend dividing it into threes so we can have big tall bookshelves that fade into the ceiling later. So as we keep going, you'll notice that we have a black box over the ceiling. Don't worry too much about it. Just place it maybe like 5 blocks up. Of course, your mileage may vary depending on the size of your room. So here's the deal with it. We're going to make pieces of the room fade into it like a gradient. And you can see here, we're just going to have some bookshelves, and they go all the way up to it, and then they stretch into it before scattering. This is how you make it look like it's taller than it is without having a very tall room. This is only about 9-10 blocks, but now we've given the illusion of depth. And this works really well when you don't light up the ceiling. Do this for any block that you happen to incorporate into the enchanting room. So you can see that works remarkably well. Additionally, later we will modify it to make it a bit more convincing. Then for your walls, I went with alternating blue concrete and blue wool stripes. It's a pretty basic thing. Wallpaper works very well in here. And in order to make sure that there are options and extra room for this place, because the more you invest in a room, the more special it is, then I'm going to include staircases. You can do a ladder instead, or just have one really long room. So you can see in here, just scattering in some more of this stuff, I'm going to have this wallpaper fade in correctly. And now what we want is pillars of bookshelves like this. You can intersperse looms and chiseled bookshelves in here, but I'm going to be completely honest, I forgot the looms. So now, by scattering in some of the black concrete, now it looks a lot more interesting. Do this for another pillar if it doesn't interrupt how big your room is. Additionally, you can put paintings and torches around. And the actual enchanting area will be its own separate 5x5 room. So we can see how all this is working together quite nicely. Right here, we also have fake buildings in the black background with calcite and warped ceilings. However, I changed it to deep slate later to be consistent with the exterior. But you can see we are a little bit running out of room vertically because we are underground. But we've still managed to do the best what we could with this room without going for a generic boring ceiling. Now, in order to make it more convincing, shave off the top block like this, and we're going to add black concrete. Do this around the ceiling, and it's not very difficult. You can even speckle it like the rest of the gradient. And what do you know? It looks a bit taller, and then when I turn off the night vision and don't add color grading to the film, you can see it looks endless actually, which is precisely what we want. Next up is the actual enchanting area. While the endless ceiling looks really good, we can't really do it in such a small space. So instead, let's use a little bit of stone bricks. And you can see just a little bit more of the room if you're having trouble. So of course, we're going to use stone bricks, and we're going to have an arched ceiling using some terracotta. And we have candles in here, amethyst, and then purple to magenta to pink terracotta. We also have some end rods hanging, and then our carpets, half wool, half actual carpet with white borders. Your carpets, if you do one, do not have to actually be made of carpet. In fact, use the fact that carpet is slightly taller, and then incorporate other blocks as needed, like glazed terracotta or concrete powder. So now, we have that, and we also have more of the facade, changed it to deep slate now, and you can see we have a little wall here. We can just put assorted items here. And this can be any sort of magical thing, such as brewing stands or skulls. So we have them, a little bit of sea turtle eggs, we got ourselves some very tasty potions, we have a very confusing situation, and now we're going to be almost done with this. While we still have to go down, let's make this room actually efficient, because as funny as the intro was, there is actual use to this. Place down a chest and fill it all with lapis. And you can store as much as you can in there, but make sure you actually keep some normal lapis, so that way you don't have to break it down every time. A stack will work. And then, of course, the grindstone. Make sure it doesn't get in the way of anything, so that way you can get the XP from it and still get level 30 enchantments. So now, we do have a fully functional enchanting room. So this tutorial is a bit longer, because I wanted to add something else to it. I really like the vibe I was going for, and I like doing the classic vibe thing of just adding everything. So down here, we have a vault room. It's a bit small, a bit dark, but you can do iron blocks and concrete to make a vault door. However, you might intersect with nearby things. You can connect them to the build, but be careful with it. You don't want your library going actually inside of a minecart track. So make sure you excavate the area around just to make sure you have room. Then, for this, we're going to be storing our special enchanted books and chiseled bookshelves. With this vault in place now, we can have reenactments of trying to decipher crypts while having to deal with oxygen deprivation. Anyways, now we're going to dig out this room just like we did for the first one, and I recommend using a different palette. While the first one was blue and a bit more whimsical and regal, this one I wanted to go more like a safe room for. So let's excavate a bit of it together, and you can see I'm connecting it deliberately to the minecart track. Because if you have some minecarts that passively go by using some redstone circuits, then you'll have some nice noise in here. So you can see, connects in, very nice, and we even have a height elevation shift. If your rooms are completely flat, they're less interesting, so add that little step up. Now we have all this, and we're going to have to decorate this room. The last one was blue, this one will be red and regal. White carpet surrounding the edges with red wool in the middle. And you can see we have a vibe going, especially with the dark oak, just to maintain consistency with the mine shaft, although it probably is the best choice anyways. Now a little bit of rapid fire stuff. For the ceiling, quartz pillars, glowstone, white glass, like this. We can do cool racks with raw gold and armor stands on slabs, using pistons to shove them in. You can see how that works here. Additionally, for lighting, I hid sea lanterns under the carpet, and we can even use paintings to continue decorating it, alternating red and red wool, and what do you know, this is without night vision, because all the sea lanterns under the carpet, and you can see how this could get really easily decorated from here. So keep this in mind. Since you can use this as an alternate enchanting room palette, I decided that if this is your second room because you wanted to add on like I did, then this is a fantastic place to keep your backup gear actually. Although not nearly as efficient as keeping it in the bedroom, still it turns it into a special case scenario. Additionally, this is a book vault, so let's do that. Some blocks that signify the thing we are actually storing in there, you can see here, and then alternate wall, same thing. And this helps keep your room nice and organized while still being, well, cool looking. And we don't have to rely on signs. So you can see here, we have the white carpet going around our deep slate rack where we're going to store our ultimate armor. Make sure there's sea lanterns under that as well. And then, with that, let's add in the thing. And make sure it looks cool. White glass, sea lanterns, shelves, silence trim, of course choose what's most aesthetically pleasing to you, and then a full thing of netherite tools enchanted with only unbreaking 2. So we have all that, it's an emergency kit, and now we can safely call this a day for functionality. However, I'm not going to leave it at that. Anvils for a railing is a good way to add some more, while still being decorational, but we do need things like tables, chairs, anything like that, because otherwise this room feels unfinished. You can also use this as a library. Right there, I put the forbidden book, do not open. So now we have these tables in here, that's a good way to start. So now, what we want to do is item frames with anvils for torches if you really want to, but otherwise, let's do some chairs. And this will also be another rapid fire thing, a good old 10 entries or so. So we can start with a chair, banner, we can have a lectern next to it, a safe, just gray wool, and a big old chair right there. A skull, exotic plants, candles, and then we can add like a beacon, a bit costly, and we can add shelves to the ends to keep it nice, and then other random assorted magical things. So now, with all that, we are done. And if you really want to incorporate this into the rest of your base, you could bust down this wall. Although you might have trouble because the lack of stair variants for wool and concrete, still, this is a good way to make your base feel a little bit more lived in. I end up undoing this post-production, but still. We go down here, and we have our vault for all of our fancy enchanted stuff, and it's generally just a nice place to be. Even if you don't actually need an enchanting room and just build the 5x5 area, still, I recommend it simply because it's going to make your survival base more lived in. There's not endless ancient cities to explore. Instead, build something that matters when you go enchanting again. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out.